Greetings. So here we are, beginning of episode 7. Some fairly exciting developments actually. What's been happening? I've been making up frame 6, and that's kind of fairly complicated frame actually to make up, and a couple of deviations and a couple of things. I had to put a couple of things up on the forum to ask the question as to how to fit it on the motor stringers and how to get it hung right, etc. And also sort of bounce backwards and forwards because it's not a continuous piece of timber along the bottom. It's cut into half to fit around the keel timber, and put an extra strengthening piece in there as well, but I'll come back and show you that later. But that just leaves me one frame left to make, frame 7, and I've been making the jig basically, and it's kind of jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but I really wanted to put it all together on the jig and to see what it looks like, because then it looks like a boat and you can see whether you're on the right track and the things that are coming ahead. So without further ado, here it is. Wow, now look at that. So this is the frame that I've just made, 6. Frame 7 will fit in here when eventually I make it. It just seems to hang on the nose section, and yeah, there it goes. All of the center keel timbers are line up at least. I mean, that's easy enough. These are the 2 motor stringers, and this is the setup level, which is the top of the motor stringer. And I've got to now cut each frame 1/2 inch in, or was it 12mm, into the motor stringer for it to sit in, and then I've got to make a bracket, a wooden bracket with 2 bolts into there, carriage bolts, and 2 carriage bolts into there to secure the frame to the motor stringer, and that's got to go for each frame on the way back. Don't know about the transom, haven't remembered about that, but there it is. It looks rather good. It's not quite straight on the here just yet, but that's possibly because that needs to be, yes, that just needs to be moved over. But you're getting the form at least of the boat, and it's going to take some bending of the wood, particularly down there, to bring that in onto this piece here, right at the nose of the boat. Sorry, the bow of the boat. That may well require some steaming. But as you can see, I'm in a tiny basement, and I certainly can't progress much beyond here with the boat until I get it into somewhere where I can put it together. But it's big. I didn't realise quite how long this was going to be, but it's looking good. I am well chuffed. So I guess I've got someone coming round to have a look at the boat tomorrow, so it'll be nice for him to he'd cast his beady eye over it, and then I'll probably start taking it apart, leave the engine stringers so that I can mark the frames on them and get them get those joints cut out, and then I can put the brackets on there so that they're all ready for the fitting. Good. So progress at least. Greetings from a very windy Portugal. Today at least. So I've been spending a bit of time down here to crack on with some more work. My frames that I set up yesterday here I've taken apart just simply because I have no room to work if I've got the frames here, and I just wanted to set it all up. I had a visitor, young Richard, come to see me, and just thought it'd be nice to put it up, and so we can get a size of the boat and get a feel for what it's going to look like. So I've taken it apart, and the reason being, I thought, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. I've still got frame 7 to build, and that's the last frame. So why don't I get that done, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the motor stringers on at least 2 or 3 of the frames, and I'm just going to take one frame at a time, and I'm going to cut that 1/2 inch slot into the frame for its final resting place, and I'm going to make up the bracket that bolts to the motor stringer and then bolts to the frame to hold it firmly in place, which is going to be about as far as I can go down here. So here I am. This is frame 7. That's what it looks like on paper, and this is a bit of what it looks like for real. And straight away I have come up against problems. Problems, you say? What problems? So this probably is, I've made this infill piece because these two bits of wood here, and I mean you can see this is the you can see the line there that I'm cut to. I've cut the two side stringers out of 150 wide wood, and so I mean let's start with the plans. Look, it shows this is 150 wide here, what, 6 inches, and it comes down, and it doesn't look too bad, but in practice, look at that, that's just not thick enough. 30 mil, just over an inch. So I thought, well, that's easily fixed. All I do is I'll put that piece in there, and that will give it some more support. Then behind it, it has to have another piece of 18mm ply on the reverse side. But the first mistake I made, and here they are, this is mistake one. When I planed it, I chipped the edge off, so I thought, I'll go for mahogany. So I made up my mahogany bits to go in here. And then I realised this is different. This is from the setup level, isn't it? Talk about read the bloody plans, boys. Every other one is the setup level is this fictionary line here, which is actually the top of the motor stringer. And as you can see, these top of these bits of wood here is 3 inches or 76mm, 3 inches, 3 inches, and 3 inches below. This one, because it's right up front, is different, and it's at the setup level. So because it's a deeper V, it needs a stronger piece of wood. So the setup level is here, and I've cut it from here, but that's fine, because that will give it support on the thin piece of wood, and then the plywood will go behind, which will be there. So between the two, that will be strong enough. So so far so good. Then I've got to cut this notch out for the stem, and that's where I started having some problems, because if you look at the plans, this is the straight line down there, that bit there, and it meets at the top of the notch for the top. So that's the first thing. The second is the top of that notch is 7 inches or 178mm down from the setup level, which is, we've got to get the right one. So that's what I have done. I measured down, I can measure it here from there to there, and as you can see, there is my line on 178. And I thought, if you don't believe me, I thought I've just got to check this, because you just don't know, do you? There, and there it is. I've got one, and there it is in 7 inches down to the top of that line. So that, let's just go back and remind ourselves, 7 inches is to the top of the notch, and that's where that keel timber will lie, and it's in line with there. 178 from there down to there is nowhere near that point there, is it? That's way out. So that's where I've gone off, had a cup of tea, and come back, scratched my head thinking I'll put this down and come back tomorrow. And I thought, well, I must be able to make some other measurements to figure out if this is right, or if the plans actually this notch should be there. So I've dug the keel timber out, and here it is here. Sorry, the bow stem member, and this is where frame 7 fits. Frame 6, remember, bolted onto that, and there will be some bolts into there. So the top of that notch is going to sit in here, which means that that timber has got to come to start there. The middle part there will eventually be the peak, as it were, of that wood. Then that will be faired off to the shape of the frame. So that depth is around 10.6, 10.7, should I say 107 millimeters. So that distance, if that sits there, should I put that the right way up, boys? If I cut it to there, that to there has got to be about 106 millimeters, and give or take, I'd say that's probably about 107. So that's near enough. So I'm pretty sure that that's where my notch comes, which has got nothing to do with what the plans suggest is there. So if I'm right, this will be the bow section, that stem section, that will be faired off, so the tip of that has to be about 10.7 plus 178, and I think I said 10.7, didn't I? 107, so that's 15.8, so that's 285 from the setup level to the tip, if I have my things right. And if I put that about there, what did I say? I said 285, and there, 285. So I have to scratch my head before I start cutting bits of wood, because you do make cock-ups. Well, 3, there you go. This is the 4th piece of wood. This bit in the middle, that's the 4th piece. There's the 3rd I made out of my 18mm plywood, and I did it up to the setup level there. But then I realised that, of course, it's 18mm, isn't it? And it's not 1 inch or 25mm. So that's the 3rd piece. I got it 4th time lucky, and because I don't have that wide Douglas fir like that to come up to the setup level, I've only got that. I could add another piece in there, but really the bit I'm trying to cover is this bit here, with some extra strength, as I'm going to cut all that out, and I think that will do. I think that will do it. And then I'll glue the I'm going to glue this together tonight and clamp it. Go away and think about it. One of the things I've learned is not to make these cuts, these very important cuts, until you've built the frame and everything is set up, because everything moves and might only be 1 or 2 millimeters, but when you put that piece onto you'll find that there's a 1 or 2 millimeter gap, and it's tempting to cut it all out now, but it's not finished. So what I'm going to do, I think, is glue this tonight. I'll make my piece of 18mm plywood tomorrow. I'll stick that on, and then I'll cut that last piece out, but I'll fit it to that the nose section, and just see that the point of this bit here actually comes to the point to agree there, so that the curve of this will come in. Well, here we are again, another day, another disappointment. Forget what I said yesterday about Glenelg plans being not up to spec. It's me. Read the plans. We say at work RTFQ. Read the question. Read the in question. Read the plans is the idea. I kind of knew something was wrong, because, well, there it is. It's too thin here. We're down to 30mm, and I've already put this block of wood in the middle of my frame, but there was something I didn't it didn't correlate to this, particularly that this dotted line goes down to the top of the nose section, which is up here, and that didn't work. So came in this morning, and I took one look at it, and I saw straight away what I'd done. This was my original line for the inside curve, and it went down to that point there, which is 178 from there. I think I'm right in saying, to that point, 178mm, 7 inches, which is why that has come in so close and made this such a thin piece of wood. Whereas everything here was that top of that plank, the flooring where the engine stringers sit, is on that bit which is 3 inches below, or 76mm below. This one is set at the setup level. So instead of it being there, which is my 76 below, it should be drawn from the setup level there. And if I drew that down to there, there's my 178mm. And if I draw that line up to the top up there, now you see we've got a good chunk of wood for that frame member, which makes sense. And that space from there to the bottom is, it's about 11 centimeters. And assuming that that frame sits just here, then that peak has to come in contact there, or be in line with this bit here, which will be fair down. So that has to be something, I mean, that's 10.7, 10.8 mil, so I'm within a couple of mil there of that, which I'm not going to argue about at this stage. So that is my cock-up, which means all this lovely wood that and yesterday, all of my 8 hours or something I spent down here yesterday trying to figure this out, that's all going to be going for scrap. I can probably use some of it again somewhere, I'm sure. There's a piece of wood, but if I cut it off here. But basically I've got to do it again. And now I need, if I look at my width, from the max width there, I need a 180 piece of wood, which I don't have. I have the 250 in mahogany, which means I'm going to cut these and use a lot of waste. But I don't mind that. I bought more than I needed, and the mahogany is a nice wood. So yeah, that's probably the biggest cock-ups to date so far, and very subtle kind of line there on the plans, which just needs reading before you do all of this. So I will crack on and start marking out a new template for a mahogany frame on 2 sides, get it cut and get it shaped on my spoke shaver, and come back and see it. So, good news. It'll follow up to yesterday's and this morning's disaster. I've remade frame 7, or at least I've got the bottom bit. I haven't done the deck beam on it yet, but here it is, and I've just glued it up, and this time it's making a lot more sense. This beam is now a lot thicker down here, which is much better, and that point comes down to touch the notch for the stem, and that point comes down there to touch the notch for the stem. I've got the 3-inch ply or 18mm ply at the back as well, which I've cut very wide so that I can trim that back to match the curve of that one. And also I've put that infill bracket, which I think is the 4th one I've made, to strengthen it up. It doesn't need it, I mean that is strong enough, but now it's solid, that won't go anywhere. And we're following the lines down the side. Obviously they're covered underneath there because that's wide. The lines at the top, and they're good there. And I measured across to make sure we were, you know, symmetrical on both sides, and we were. So tomorrow what I've got to do is to cut out that deck beam and fit that as well. And if I point the camera, that would be handy, wouldn't it? So that's much better. I've done it out of this beautiful mahogany. Got a lot of waste, but so be it. That's my mistake, and it's better in mahogany. I prefer it. It looks better. And it's probably stronger. I should have got it in the first place, but I didn't think to ask for that because it said Douglas fir. Well, it did say in the plans, to be fair, Douglas fir or mahogany. But anyway, that's what we got, and we're getting there. That's the last of the frames nearly finished, and I can move on to the next stage. Well, here we are again. A little bit of a delay. I've been sidetracked, but I did manage to crack on a bit more with my frame and frame 7. So this is the frame 7 on the nose section, or the stem section. Very pleased with how this comes out. I mean, the curves are just beautiful with my spoke shaver, and it was the question was, is this correct? Is this distance up here, this notch, is it correct? And so what I've seen people do when they do their fairing, they cut a slot with a saw to the center line. There's the center line there, and then they cut from the center line or just at an angle till they get to the top of the piece they're going to fair, which is kind of what I've done here. And as you can see there, that just hits the center line nicely, and it does it on both sides. So I'm pretty sure that that's where that's going to be, because this will obviously be fed down to a point or something like a point, and it will hit this frame and then follow that curve. So I'm really pleased with the way that fit. I made it a tight fit, and I mean, look at that, it's in there solid and it's not even glue, and this has got to be glued and screwed in eventually. So all that's left for me to do here is to make the deck bit, which is slightly curved and will be in, I should do it in mahogany really. I'm also thinking about just putting another piece of facing ply on here to, because all the frames on the joints, they've got ply on both sides. Probably overkill, but I thought some 3/8 plywood just on that section, because this is going to take some thumping in a C, and I want to make that as strong as I need to. Probably overkill, but for, you know, 20 or 30 grams of wood and a bit of glue, I would have thought it's probably a good idea. So I've got to go to work, back to London for a couple of weeks, so I'm not going to be here doing much. So I thought I might as well wrap this one up and get it away. So I hope you like. Comments are always appreciated. I learned some good stuff of asking questions on the forum. Subscribe if you like. It's down on the bottom left. I think that YouTube put a red subscribe button, and then you get notified of the next video as coming out. And then I'll crack on and see you soon. Thank you.